Sean's not going to rush at you. Sean's going to stay in the pocket with you the whole fight. Dricus' best weapon is the jab. If Sean just takes away your jab and gets out of there in his beautiful Philly shell that he has, he's just literally going to bink, bink. And I'm showing you guys what's going to happen. Like I said, Dricus is going to throw his jab. That's really good. Sean's just going to get out the way with this nice Philly shell. Bink, bink. It's going to be beautiful. But it's because how Dricus Du Plessis lunges in with that jab. That's how he's going to get caught. Hey guys, welcome to the False Line Podcast here with episode 191. And this is your host, Alvaro. Hey guys, welcome to another episode. This episode is coming out, I think, on Thursday. I apologize for not posting a video earlier this week. But I know we had, sports, or a lot of sports actually this past weekend with the Better Breathe and Callum Smith. We had UFC Fight Night. We had football. We had soccer. But mostly what all we talk about here is MMA and boxing. And I just didn't have enough to make a full episode, worthy of 20 minutes with whatever happened this week. And UFC Fight Night was very fun, very exciting, and just kind of, chill. A lot of cool things happened. And honestly, didn't really watch too much of the card just because I think I want to say I was watching football. But, shout out to all the people that won and did good. And, Ankalaev showed why he should be #1 contender. And there's no doubt in my mind that Ankalaev needs to be fighting Alex Pereira at UFC 300. There's more than enough time for that fight to happen. Fights in, I believe the card is in April. It's early January. So, Ankalaev barely took any damage. I'm sure he's healthy. So let's fucking make that fight happen at UFC 300 for the light heavyweight title, and we'll get a banger, no question. So that was this weekend. I want to talk about UFC 297 this week, which is super exciting. I want to talk about just UFC kind of news, things like that, and that should be the episode for today. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is just the UFC news, and then we'll get into the card. So I've been pretty vocal, about the vibe or the energy, on social media with MMA. MMA Twitter is what people call it. And you know what? Like a lot of headline chasing, a lot of toxicity, a lot of negativity. And it's like, to me, it's pretty annoying. And I'm saying this because what I'm getting to, a lot of people, for the past few days, weeks, been shitting on Dana White about UFC 300. And a lot of people are making a big deal out of UFC 300 online, right? It's already a big deal enough, just UFC 300. Like, that's fucking huge, fucking epic, and it's a huge milestone for the company. But, MMA Twitter is just all over it. Like, oh, why is 299 so stacked? This, like, they're trying to make Sean O'Malley this mega superstar by building this card. No, we have UFC 300, things like that. And then today, Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway gets announced, and everyone's like, oh, UFC 300 is saved, this, and that. And I'm like, UFC 300 was never in fucking trouble. Like, it just never was. The UFC, and I said this on, I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before, UFC just never disappoints. Like, they just don't. They always just put on some really, really good cards together. Last year, like, I don't know if it was just because I was into UFC last year, like, a lot more than usual, but we had some fucking bangers last year, and they weren't milestones. They were just pay-per-view events. And again, Dana White, the UFC, all those guys, they're going to come through. UFC 299 is stacked, but bro, how many cards did we have like that last year? We had a good handful of cards that were just stacked last year, man, and they were crazy. And I don't know, man. Like I said, UFC just don't disappoint. And again, with the UFC fight news today, Max Holloway fighting Justin Gaethje for the BMF title at UFC 300. First thoughts and feelings about this. I'm happy that this fight's getting made. I'm happy Justin Gaethje's fighting. I'm sure everyone on this card is getting a huge payday. That's why they're on this card. And the card prior, 299, and I'm talking about Dustin Poirier. But besides the point, Justin Gaethje, I have mixed emotions. Justin Gaethje should be fighting at UFC 300 for the light heavyweight title. I don't know why Islam's not fighting. I know they say it's an injury, but I I just can't believe that. I just can't believe that it's injury. I understand that he has his religious thing going on, and, you know, no disrespect, I get it. But it just seems very, very unfair to Justin Gaethje. And honestly, like, he doesn't gain much if he beats Max Holloway. You're beating a very, you know, a legend, you know, at 145 in the UFC. But, you know, has rarely competed at 155, you know, and if Justin Gaethje wins, like, okay, yeah, he's probably next for the title, but he was already next for the title. He should have been fighting Islam Makhachev. And for Max Holloway, this is a cool fight for him, you know, and it's a cool fight for both guys. This is a cool fight to make, you know. It's a very fun, exciting fight. Again, I don't think there's much to gain besides, you know, money, fame. But for their career-wise, you know, it's like it's not too much. You know, they'll get their BMF title, which is pretty cool and stuff, but, you know, if Max wins, does that put him next for the title after Ali and Volk? I don't know. You know, if Justin Gaethje wins, well, he's already, you know, next for the title. I mean, I don't know how they'll do it, but yeah, he needs to be fighting for a title, especially if he wins. So that's how I feel about it, but I'm very excited. I'm not trying to talk down or be negative about it, but I'm just trying to, you know, I'm being honest. But yeah, I'm very excited for the fight. It's going to be a banger, no question. And then we got, who was the other one? Oh, I think it's Jim Miller and Bobby Green, which is a very cool fight also as well. So, you know, both, I don't know why I want to use the word legends, but very strong, I would think, fan bases. And like, I think that should be a BMF title or some other type of title. Because, again, Bobby Green's been in the sport, and he's respected in the sport and loved by fans. Jim Miller, 16 years in the UFC. Like, holy crap. Like, that's a long time. And it's pretty awesome that he gets to be at UFC 300, and he talked about it this press conference. So very cool, very excited for him. And I'm going to loop back around to the, you know, people talking down on Dana, UFC 300. And we don't have a full card yet, right? But I'm just going to tell you the fights that we do have, besides the one that I already mentioned. Charles Oliveira, Arman Sarukian, Zhang Weili versus Jan Zoana, I think. Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Kattar. Yuri Pozarka versus Alexander Rakic, yeah. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. I think Cody... Oh, shoot. I can't even say his last name. I'm going to try. And we have Cody Garbrandt. Fuck, I hear his name all the time. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get roasted for that. And then Cody versus Davidson Figueiredo, which got announced last week. Now, and that's just what's on the card right now. You know, when people are fucking complaining about UFC 300 and how it's going to disappoint and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, again, the UFC comes through all the time. They don't disappoint. They put on bangers. UFC fight nights, we see bangers, and it's just like they just cannot stop putting out bangers. You know, it's very rare that they put out a card that's just not as exciting. And lastly, I do want to talk about UFC 299 because people are talking about how Sean O'Malley is, you know, like they're trying to make him look good and this and that. And I'm just like, bro, you know, you guys are tripping. But a lot of big names right on that card. And very, very stacked card, people will say. And people are saying that they're using all those fights to now put at UFC 300 to make Sugar Sean O'Malley look good. Look, I was a fan of Sean O'Malley. I've lost interest in Sean O'Malley. But they're not trying to curate Sean O'Malley's career. They've never really done that for anybody. They do favor, you know, John Jones, Khabib, but they've never really tried and curate someone's career in the UFC. So, you know, or make Sean O'Malley look good. Like, oh, he headlined this banger-ass card. You know, at the end of the day, if Sean O'Malley performs and gets, like, a beautiful knockout, he's a superstar. Like, he's just a superstar. That's just what superstars do. Like, those are superstar things, and that's just what they do. They live up to the hype, and they show up and put on performances. So I don't want to hear that they're trying to make Sean O'Malley look good. No, the UFC just comes through, man. They just come fucking through. So it's plain, it's simple, and that's just it. So let's get into UFC 297. I'm not going to talk too much about really any fight except for the main event here because I didn't do too much homework on them, not really knowing them. And really when I run into the situation, I just like to watch the fights and get to know the fighters. And that's it. And you guys can call me a casual or whatever, but, you know, this is how I'll start, and I'll get to a less casual place, you could say. So we got Arnold Allen versus Mufsar Evlov. I don't know how to say that name. Arnold Allen, I know he's a ranked guy at the featherweight division. Not really going to give my pick here. Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Baralt. Again, I'm not going to give my prediction, but both of these guys have pretty good resumes. And I think that fight's going to be a banger. And then we got Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. And Neil Magny is one of those guys that just gives you a hard time. And he shows up to fight every time, right? So that fight's exciting as well. And then we have Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva for the bantamweight title for the women's. And again, not too familiar with either of them. But I do know that Juliana Pena is on that division, and she's already chirping, and she hasn't fought since, what's her name? Amanda Nunes fight, the second one where she got her ass beat here in Dallas. So it's been a while since she's been out, and she did really good in a huge upset, but ever since then, like, she's been really annoying. So I'm really excited for any of these fighters to come out on top, and hopefully, you know, Juliana Pena fights whoever has the title, and then I would like to think that she'd get exposed, and that'll be the end of her, right? So we'll see. And then maybe I sound a little harsh that, but that's just how I feel. So I want to spend some time talking about the main event. You know, Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. And let's kind of give some history or a timeline here. I don't know what time was it last year. I think it was like towards the summer I think it was in April when Izzy and Alex Pereira fought for the second time for the title. And Izzy bounces back and gets a huge W. And then I don't know when Dricus had his fight against Robert Whittaker. I want to say it was also like in the summer, if not early fall, but I want to say it was in the summer. But he had his fight against Robert Whittaker. He won. They had the whole promo thing with Izzy, and we all thought that fight was going to happen, right? You know, after doing my homework, looking at these fights, things like that, I started to think, like, why didn't Dricus take the fight with Izzy? Why didn't he take that fight? Why did he miss out on the title and let Sean Strickland or whoever was next, right? We didn't know. Dricus didn't know. He just passed it on. And it was weird. And I didn't really start to think about it till now. You know, they say he had a broken foot. And I watched that Robert Whittaker fight, and his movement looked the same as he did against Darren Till. I mean, I don't think he had anything broken. I'm sure he had it sprained or tweaked or something, but nothing to the point where you're not going to be able to stand and fight with a fighter like Izzy. And how I truly feel is that I think he didn't want to fight Izzy. You know, whether he had something tweaked or not, or he had something tweaked. That's why he didn't fight, but he chose not to fight when I think he knew he could have fought, right? Again, I don't know him. That's just what I think, and I'm just making my assessment or my analysis, you could say. And that, I don't know, man, like that kind of says a lot, I think, for itself. Like he probably was just overly confident as well, and I don't blame him. He's pretty good. He's like, okay, my title shot, like if Izzy beats the next guy, like I have to be next, which makes sense. Like honestly, he didn't have to fight. Like if Izzy would have won whoever, whether it was Sean or someone else, who else is up? Drake, is you ready? Like, come on, man. Like, let's get you in a fight with Israel. We can promote the shit out of this one. Like, they still could have done that. And I think Drake just knew that. And he kind of was like, I'll wait. You know, Izzy's still going to be champ. I need to recover, feel 100%, and be really, really ready to fight and to give myself the best chances of become a champion. And I think that's what happened. And I think Sean Strickland is going to make Dricus Du Plessis fold, you know? So, and not just because of that. Of course, I got my more reasons because of that. So anyways, that's the timeline, right? He doesn't take the fight. Sean Strickland steps up. No business being in there with Israel Adesanya. Was a big underdog, and Israel was a heavy favorite. And I just got done watching the fight a few minutes ago, and that's why I decided to record today and not the next day, because I was ready, you know. And I just saw the 2 fights of Dricus and some highlights, things like that. And you guys might think that's not a lot. And I wanted to watch more fights of Dricus, but I watched the Robert Whittaker fight, and I was just kind of confused. And then I watched the Darren Till fight, and I was even more confused. And I was just like, there's just no way that Sean Strickland is losing to Dricus Du Plessis. Like, there's just no way. You know, I think Sean is just going to beat him, and I'm going to get into it in a bit. But, you know, he goes in there, gets a job done against someone like Israel Adesanya. And I know a lot of people hate on Israel Adesanya, but when you talk about the name Israel Adesanya, he has a roster of people that he beat, and some people even twice in the division. Just an iconic name in the division, and one of the best to ever be in the division, whether he's above, same level, or under level Anderson Silva, but he's right there with Anderson Silva, you know, on the GOAT list and what he was able to achieve in his UFC career so far, just in the division. Like, it's just been impressive to go out and beat those guys, and some of them twice, like Robert Whittaker, Vittori. I don't know if I'm missing anyone else besides that. But, yeah, like, it's insane. So, watching the Izzy and Sean fight, Sean locked in as fuck. And it's like he knew what Izzy was going to do all the time. There's a few times he got caught, of course, but he just knew what Izzy was going to do. He checked a lot of kicks. He avoided a lot of kicks. And he just countered, like, perfectly. His timing was just on point every time he countered something. And it's wild to see because he stayed in the pocket with Izzy the whole fight. It wasn't like a run and chase. He was just in Izzy's face the whole time. And it was just like a slow in your face. It wasn't like heavy pressure. It was just like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to figure you out. And he did. And he just stayed in range with Izzy the whole time. And when he needed to step back, he did. And I was like, damn. You know, and when you watch something like that and like the volume's low and you don't have all this adrenaline, your heartbeat's not up. I'm just casually just watching this. And I'm just like, damn, that's insane. And I was just blown away. And, you know, from Izzy constantly throwing feints, you know, and making you flinch so much and making you kind of make a mistake because how many feints he's giving you, you know, and for Sean to stay so calm and composed and knew when to get out and knew when to throw, it was just like, damn. You know, again, timing was just on point. And, you know, Alex Pereira, one of those guys who stayed in your face and he brought the pressure to Izzy and got countered, right? And then he got caught. And it happened twice, in the first fight and in the second fight. You know, and what Izzy did in the first fight against Alex, I know it goes unnoticed because he lost, kind of what like Usman did to Leon in the first fight. But, you know, Izzy dominated Alex in range, outside of range. He managed the kicks not to get too crazy. And, you know, obviously he got hurt over time, but he stayed in the fight and he was dominating that fight. Second fight was the same thing for Izzy. Like, and I'm saying that because that's just how good Izzy is. Because look what Alex Pereira is doing right now. You know, he's beat Izzy, he's beat Sean, he's beat Jan, he's beat Yuri. Like, what Alex is doing, he's creating his own legacy. But somehow, some way, Israel Adesanya just has beat him. Like, was it, how many rounds have they fought? Oh, 7, 8? He's beat him probably 7 rounds out of 8. You know, and the rounds that he lost when he got knocked out. But and again, just speaking of how good Izzy is, and now a little bit back to Sean, Sean stayed in the pocket with Izzy, you know, controlled Izzy, and just telegraphed everything. I don't know. He just knew what Izzy was going to do. And he got the job done in 5 rounds. Izzy has never been dominated that way, where he got picked apart and almost just bullied in the octagon and just had no answers for Sean Strickland. He caught Sean a few times, but just could never really find momentum, could never really land clean shots to wobble Sean. Sean was just never in trouble in that fight. And the fact that you could do that against a striker, a sniper like Izzy, it says a lot about Sean Strickland. Now, let's talk about Dricus. I sat down and I ate, and I was like, man, I got to watch Dricus fights. I got to watch at least 3 to really get to know Dricus and how he's going to win or how he's going to get his ass beat. And I got back to my computer after I got done eating, and I watched the Robert Whittaker fight. And I was like, fuck, how did Dricus beat Robert Whittaker? So then I'm like, okay, I don't know what the hell happened here. I'm going to watch Darren Till versus Dricus Du Plessis. He was the same type of fighter. Again, I was like, fuck, man. He found the, I don't know if you want to call it a way out or an escape, but he ain't managed to beat Darren Till and Robert Whittaker. I think Robert Whittaker underestimated him a little bit. And I think when Dricus Du Plessis caught Robert Whittaker, I truly think it was accidental. You know, I looked at that shit like 5 times in slow-mo, fast motion, everything. I was like, Robert Whittaker was going in, you know, for a jab or a hook, and Dricus just almost automatically is what he does. He has a really good job, but just automatically goes for his jab, you know, and Robert Whittaker just not knowing, and it looked like Dricus just wasn't trying to defend whatever was coming at him. It looked like he just threw it because he just backed off so fast, and he caught Robert Whittaker coming in, and that's why Robert Whittaker was just so hurt, and then he got put out. You know, and I know it sounds like I'm trying to like say it was a fluke, but, and I'm saying that because against Sean, like those small mistakes, maybe that small mistake that Robert Whittaker made, Sean Strickland is not going to make that mistake. You know, and Sean Strickland, again, had a flawless fight against Israel Adesanya. And then from there, Sean Strickland is just only going to get better. Just going to get better from that fight and all the performances after that, for the most part, until he starts his decline, which who knows when that'll be. Sean Strickland is just going to keep getting better inside the octagon. And I think, you know, okay, back to Dricus, because I do want to give my predictions on the fight before we get towards the end here. So every time Robert Whittaker came into Dricus backs off, boom. All the time. Every time Robert Whittaker brought the pressure, right? And you'll see it against Sean, but he did it against Darren Till as well. But Sean's not going to rush at you. Sean's going to stay in the pocket with you the whole fight. And if you, in my opinion, and Dricus' best weapon is the jab. You know, if Sean just takes away your jab and gets out of there and his beautiful Philly shell that he has, he's just literally gonna bink, bink. Like, and I'm showing you guys what's going to happen. Like I said, Dricus is gonna throw his jab. That's really good. He's gonna figure it out. Sean's just gonna get out the way with this nice Philly shell. Bink, bink. If not, bink, bink. And it's going to be beautiful. But it's because how Dricus Du Plessis lunges in with that jab. It could be an uppercut. I don't know. But that's how he's going to get caught. And I say that too because, again, has that nice jab. And then when he's being rushed, he goes like this. And I just think Sean Strickland is just going to pick him apart. Against Darren Till, same thing. Every time Darren Till rushed, backed off, hands were like this. He had a beautiful jab the whole fight. But there was a few times Darren Till would catch him. And then, you know, Robert Whittaker and Darren Till also, too, when he would go in with that jab, they just give him a nice leg kick, right? Not saying that Sean's going to do that, but he could. And I think there's just a lot of things that Sean Strickland will do and will just capitalize when he fights Dricus Du Plessis. You know, and I truly do believe that Sean Strickland's going to go in there on Saturday night and he is going to pick Dricus Du Plessis piece by piece. And he's just going to piece him apart. And it's going to be a masterclass. It's going to look so much cleaner than how it looked against Izzy. Because, again, Dricus Du Plessis, very good fighter, but he only has crazy pressure. and he has that jab. But that's it. A really good ground game as well. But I don't see this fight going to the ground. And I don't think his wrestling's so threatful that, you know, he could possibly get a sub. So like I was saying, I don't think Dricus Du Plessis gets a submission over Sean Strickland. I think his ground game is good, but not to the point where Sean's in any real trouble. Let me think. And again, he has that crazy pressure, and it looks like he has pretty good cardio, but he hasn't been in a 5-round fight. And Sean Strickland, I think, as much as cardio as Dricus, you know, he might have, I just think Sean Strickland has superior cardio just because how fresh and how nice he looked against Izzy, you know, and I'm sure he's going to get overwhelmed in the first round. You know, Dricus is going to come in there hot, blazing guns, but Sean Strickland is going to just stop him, just clock him, stop him, humble him, and like I said, it's going to be like Sean Strickland's just literally going to go like this, like this, like this, like this. And what I'm doing is picking out Dricus Du Plessis. Like, he's literally going to take away everything from Dricus and just beat him. And it's going to be clean, you know. And I only say that because he did it to Izzy. He did it to one of the best. And now you're fighting someone a little bit, well, Izzy, like I said, he's the pinnacle. You know, and now you're fighting someone that is just not as good. It has, you know, who will pressure you, but just not as good as Izzy. You know, doesn't have the weapons like Izzy. There's nothing threatful that Dricus does. You know, he doesn't. In my opinion, Dricus Du Plessis doesn't have the power either. He tried to put out Darren Till in the first fight, in the first round. Didn't do it. Darren Till, no offense, but he's not like an elite fighter. So if you can't put out Darren Till, he caught Robert Whittaker. Don't get me wrong, but I think that only happened because Robert Whittaker was just moving so fast and he got caught and he legit got concussed. But he just got caught moving in, and it wasn't because of Dricus's power. It was just of how momentum works. You know, Robert was coming in like this, and, you know, with Dricus's enough power, but I think Robert was just moving so fast and he just got hit, you know. And maybe I'm sounding crazy, but I don't think Dricus has that power. And I think, like I said, Sean is going to catch Dricus. Sean has really heavy hands, and he's just going to get the job done. So I think that's really it for the pod. And just remember, guys, just remember, I really do think Sean's just going to pick him apart. And for some reason, which I just don't see it happening, if for some reason Dricus Du Plessis gets it done, I'll take the L. I'll get roasted on the YouTube video, you know, and I'll see the comments and this, and that. I'll be perfectly fine with that if that happens. I will, because I'm just really confident, and I really just don't see it happening. I really don't. But, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your predictions below. Again, I apologize for not talking a lot of the fights on the undercard, but again, just not too familiar. I need to get familiar with these guys, and I will on Saturday. But yeah, give me your predictions in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.